Hello everyone and welcome to Literally Victorian. This time around we're going to be talking about the Victorian aristocracy, the powerful social elite who stood at the very top of 19th century Britain. The Victorian era was a time of immense change, industrial, political and social, and few groups were more affected by these changes than the aristocracy. Once seemingly unshakable, they found their privileges and authority slowly challenged by a rapidly modernizing world. The aristocracy were Britain's hereditary nobles, dukes, earls, lords and ladies, who inherited their wealth and position through family lineage. Their fortunes rested largely on land ownership, and for centuries that land gave them not only income but also power and prestige. To be an aristocrat was not simply to be rich. It meant belonging to an ancient and exclusive class, educated at schools like Eton or Oxford, speaking with the right accent, dressing in a certain way, and moving within a tightly bound circle of other elites. Their lives revolved around the great country estates and the annual London season, a period of grand balls, dinners and social events where reputations were made and marriages arranged. Every gesture, every acquaintance, every invitation mattered. In Victorian Britain, the aristocracy were the model of refinement, and they made sure everyone knew it. Politically, their power was extraordinary. Many of the century's leading figures, Lord Palmerston, the Earl of Derby, Lord Salisbury, came from aristocratic families. The House of Lords was dominated by hereditary peers, and through it they could shape the laws and policies of the nation. Their influence extended into the army, the church, and the diplomatic service. Culturally, they set the tone for the nation's tastes in architecture, fashion, and art. Their country houses, such as Chatsworth or Blenheim Palace, stood as monuments to their wealth and aesthetic authority. To many Victorians, the aristocracy embodied civilization itself, the idea that birth and breeding conferred a natural right to rule. But beneath this splendor, cracks were beginning to show. The Industrial Revolution was transforming Britain's economy, creating immense new fortunes in cities like Manchester, Birmingham, and Liverpool. These industrialists, merchants, and financiers didn't come from the noble families, but they were rich, often richer than the lords and ladies who had once looked down on them. At the same time, the agricultural depression of the late 19th century sharply reduced land income. Many aristocratic estates fell into debt. Some families sold off land or art collections. Others sought rescue through marriage to wealthy American heiresses, the so-called dollar princesses. Meanwhile, the Reform Acts of 1832, 1867, and 1884 gradually expanded the right to vote. The aristocracy's firm grip on Parliament began to loosen. Politics was becoming a middle-class affair. Culturally, too, attitudes were shifting. The Victorian ideal of self-help and merit, promoted by figures like Samuel Smiles, clashed with the old notion that social rank should depend on birth. A new sense of meritocracy was emerging, slowly but unmistakably. By the end of the century, the aristocracy still glittered, but their world no longer held the same authority. The stage was being shared, and increasingly it was being taken over by others. By the time Queen Victoria died in 1901, the aristocracy remained prominent, but no longer powerful in the way they once were. They still held influence in the army, the church and diplomacy, but their political and economic dominance had faded. Yet their cultural legacy endures. The great country houses they built, the art and architecture they commissioned, even the manners and etiquette they perfected, all continue to shape how Britain imagines its past. We still see their shadow today in period dramas, in literature, and in the fascination with titles, estates, and old family names. So in the end, the story of the Victorian aristocracy is both one of grandeur and decline. They presided over the height of Britain's empire and social hierarchy, but they also witnessed its slow erosion. By the dawn of the 20th century, they were no longer the rulers of Britain, but the relics of a fading world, symbols of elegance, yes, but also a society that could no longer hold back the tide of change. Thank you for listening. Until next time, bye for now.